Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stacy Diaz Apodaca. If you've never been here before, but if you have, hi girl. Welcome back to another Stacy Detox video. I firstly want to start off by saying that I'm so grateful that you decided to click on this video and you decided to join us for today's topic. As you guys know, this is my second channel. So on my vlog channel, I do my everyday stuff, my life, and on this channel, we get to have sit-down conversations about life, relationships, self-love, and how we can become better humans. I do want to start off today's video by immensely thanking all of you who decided to subscribe to this channel. As you guys know, last week I posted the first video and you guys showed so much love. I am so incredibly grateful for you. I can't believe that video got 7,000 views, and I don't know what I was expecting from this channel, but 7,000 views is definitely a lot more than what I was expecting the first video to make. So hopefully we can continue that energy. And with that, do keep in mind that since we are a new channel, the more you like this video, or the more you engage in the comments, or the more you subscribe, the more the YouTube algorithm decides to throw my video up in people's recommended page, therefore helping our little family grow more and more. I'm so excited to be talking about today's topic because today we're going to be talking about ghosting. Now, if you are one of the few people in this world who don't know what ghosting is, let me just congratulate you, because that means that it has never happened to you, and that means that the people that you have dated have great communication skills, or that you yourself have great communication skills. Ghosting is when somebody who you've been dating, somebody who you've been getting to know, somebody who you have been going out with, cuts all communication with you all of a sudden. Now, you might be thinking, what? Like, why would people do that? Like, why wouldn't you communicate? But it's kind of scary, you guys, and once it happens to you, you're literally traumatized and you think every single person is gonna do that to you. Like, till this day, when somebody doesn't answer my emails within like 3 to 4 days, I'm like, am I being ghosted by this person who I'm doing like business with? But yeah, basically that's what it is. You're literally talking to somebody for 3 to 4 weeks or 6 months even, and you're texting, and one random Tuesday at 12 p.m. you reply and you're like, ah, that was so funny. Yeah, what are you eating later on? And then next thing you know, you never hear from them again. Like, literally never again. Your messages start going undelivered. You all of a sudden are blocked. When you try to look for them, they're nowhere to be found. They literally vanish like a ghost, which is why it's called ghosting. Now, as you guys know, I like to have posts on my Instagram because I like to include you guys in the conversation. I'm only one person and I like to be as unbiased as I possibly can in these videos. So I did ask you guys a couple of questions on my Instagram story regarding the topic, and we're gonna get to see the poll results. If you'd like to participate in the next polls, make sure you follow me on Instagram, because that's exactly where I get all my information from. The polls go as followed. Majority of you guys said that you have been ghosted. The majority of you guys said that you have ghosted someone. The majority of you said that you should end things clearly. And the majority of you said that you don't consider ghosting a proper way of ending things. Now, my confusion is here. How are the majority of you guys thinking, okay, ghosting is not a proper way of ending things, but the majority of you guys have also ghosted somebody? Like, girl, it does not make sense. You can't be going out there ghosting people, traumatizing them, and then making them think that that's a proper way of ending things, because then they're just gonna repeat the cycle with other people. But before I get all fired up, let's actually get into this conversation. Majority of you guys are probably sitting here thinking like, oh my god, Stacey, like, why are you even talking about this? How would you even know what ghosting feels like? You're beautiful, you're perfect, you communicate so well. How can anyone ever ghost you? You probably have no experience with it. Girl, let me tell you, you would think this beautiful angel, independent, beautiful, successful, intelligent woman has not experienced ghosting, but you would actually be wrong. Me, the Stacy D, I have actually been ghosted. So let's talk about it. I have personally never ghosted anybody before, so my record is clean, but I have been ghosted. A couple years back, I was kind of seeing this person who I met through my friends. So basically, I met this guy because my friend was going to the same gym as him, right? One day I went to go work out with my friend and I met him there, and eventually he started following me on Instagram. We started messaging and it was fun. Now, red flag number one, he never asked for my number. He only messaged me on Instagram, which if I was single now, I will not tolerate if somebody DMs me If you see me in person and you don't ask for my number and then you later on DM me, red flag number one, you don't got the balls to come up to me and ask for my number. Back then I was younger. This was probably a couple years back. I don't really know how long ago. Let's say 4 years ago. Eventually, like, we start DMing, we start texting, and the conversation's going well. He's a little salado for me, but you know, at this time I was trying to get to know myself. I was dating, I was trying to see my options. Now, this guy did live kind of far from me, and eventually he asked me like, hey, do you want to come out here and go out to dinner? Red flag number two. This guy asked me to drive literally 35 to 40 minutes away from where I lived. A guy who actually likes you is gonna come closer to you, possibly pick you up, but if you don't feel comfortable with them picking you up, he's at least gonna make the location of the date as close to you as possible, right? Anyway, I was not as knowledgeable as I am now, so I said, okay, yeah, sure, like, I'll go over there and we'll hang out. So anyway, we ended up going out by his, well, I actually drove to his house, then we got on his car and we ended up going out to like have drinks and dinner with a couple of his friends. It was fun, it was cool. I was like, not really my scene, he's not really my type, but whatever. I was still giving it a try because I didn't want to be just like close-minded from the get-go. After that, we end up hanging out a couple of times, but I would always go to his place, right? Which, red flag number three, this guy never wanted to come out here, never wanted to spend his own gas to drive out here, never wanted to be in my immediate circle. He just wasn't contributing to my life the way I was contributing to his. Again, not something I would tolerate now, but back then I didn't know any better. After a couple of times of hanging out, we probably dated for like a month and a half, let's say. After a couple of times, eventually I told him, I was like, hey, you know, I'm always going out to you. Would you not want to come out this way? And he was like, made 100,000 of excuses. And he was like, oh my God, it's just because my car is not that good on gas. And what are we going to do out there? Like, I just know about so many things to do out here. I just feel more comfortable if we hang out around my area. And they were all BS excuses. But to me, I was like, fine. Like, in the back of my mind, even though I didn't think that was a good enough reason to like break things off, I knew that he already didn't like me enough to drive out to me, which to me already let me know he didn't like me enough, period. Because somebody who actually likes me would make sacrifices for me, and that's something I hold, that's a standard I hold the people I date to now. Something you can pick up for yourself. As you guys know, I go to Mexico all the time. I love being in Mexico before the pandemic. And so I went to Mexico, one of my normal trips, and I spent probably like 2 weeks over there, and we were texting like normal while I was in Mexico. Everything was normal, literally everything. The day I was coming back from Mexico, as you guys know, I'm flying, so I don't have service. And I told them before I got on the plane, we were texting like normal, like, oh yeah, I just got to the airport, everything's great. And then he tells me, he's like, okay, have a safe flight, like, talk to you when you get here, hope everything's good. And then I'm like, all right, great. So I turn my phone off, I fly, land in San Diego, and as you guys know, I always land in San Diego and I drive up to LA. So as soon as I land, as any girl that you're dating would do, I text him and I'm like, hey, just so you know, like, I just landed, what are you up to? As I'm driving, 30 minutes go by and nothing. And then 40 minutes go by and nothing. And then like I get home after 2.5 hours and nothing. And I was like, all right, well, he's probably busy, you know. And then I got home like at 8 p.m. Let's say by 11 p.m. he hadn't said anything. And one of my rules that I've always had is if you can go literally one night without saying good night or saying good morning, like, I already know it's done. Like, for me personally, that's important. So I knew that was, I just kind of felt like this uneasy feeling, right? I wake up the next morning and there's still nothing on my phone. He normally would wake up before me and tell me good morning. And next thing I know, it's mediodía, and then I'm like, bro, what, like, is he dead? Like, what is happening, you know? So I text him again, I'm like, are you good? And literally, you guys, the last text message I ever got from this guy was have a safe flight, and I never heard from him again. He was no longer following me. I wasn't blocked, but the fact that he was no longer following me, I kind of caught the hint. He was fine, he was posting, he was alive, he was kicking, he was working out, he was doing his thing. And to me, I just kind of felt like, all right, like, I get the clue, but I couldn't help but feel like I wasn't worthy of an actual explanation. I never asked him for an explanation. The last thing I actually did was I sent him a message, a voice message, because I didn't want him to screenshot like what I said, you know? And I sent him a message. I said something along the lines of like, you are literally such a coward. Like, I cannot believe that you literally just vanished and you're not even gonna have the balls to break things off with me. That happened such a long time ago. I don't actually remember what I said. But to me, I was hurt and I was mad and I was upset at the fact that somebody can literally spend or waste my time for as long as they did and then just vanish without an explanation. It felt like I wasn't worthy of an actual explanation. Had he said something like, hey, you know, like, I just don't feel like things are going the way that I was planning, or you're not actually the person that I'm interested on, or, you know, we just don't vibe in that level, I would have understood. But the fact that he never explain things to me, or he thought that he could just literally like flick me off into the air and then forget about me, that's what felt like disrespect to me. I can honestly say that was probably one of the most humbling experiences I've ever been through, and I don't wish that experience upon any of you because it wasn't a pleasant experience. It wasn't something that I would recommend, that I'm like, oh yeah, go out there and look for a guy that's gonna ghost you so you can grow. No, it wasn't a pleasant experience, but it definitely forced me to look within myself and to actually see what were the things that I was taking personally. Because at the end of the day, now as an almost 30-year-old, I'm aware that somebody ghosting you or somebody completely vanishing from your life without an explanation has nothing to do with you, and it has way more to do with who they are as people. Now hear me out. If you've been ghosted before, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that that was probably one of the worst dating experiences I've ever had. It felt like I wasn't worthy of an explanation. It felt like I could just literally be ignored by anybody who I would ever date, and it felt like my trusting ability would no longer be there, because if he did it to me, would that mean that every other person that I ever dated was gonna do it to me? And would it mean that every random Wednesday at 11 p.m. I could possibly be ghosted by the person that I was talking to? It took a really long time for me to digest and for me to actually feel okay with what happened. But thankfully, because it's been such a long time, because I worked through it in therapy, and because I have had the time to analyze the situation, and I have had the time to see how many of you guys have actually been in the shoes that I was in, here are some of the things that I learned when it comes to being ghosted. Number one, not everybody who you date has the emotional capacity to express how they feel. As somebody who is overly expressive of their emotions, I literally will stub my toe, and then I have to talk about it to my boyfriend. Like, I'm like, I just felt like the door was in the way, and then like I cracked my toe and it was really painful, you know? As somebody who has to really express her emotions all the time, to me, it didn't make sense how, if you weren't feeling me no more, how can you just not tell me and say something like, hey, you know what? We're just not feeling each other. It is what it is. Bye. You know? Now I understand that not because I'm able and willing to share my emotions doesn't mean that every person who you date has the same capacity to express their emotions. It doesn't mean that it's okay to get ghosted. And even then, now I would encourage you guys that if you no longer want to see someone, if you don't have the emotional capacity to end things, at least send a text message. At least let them know that you no longer want to see them. It's gonna be awkward, it's gonna feel weird, but at least you're putting a clear end to things. Now I understand that his inability to communicate had nothing to do with my worthiness. I am worthy of love, respect, and communication, regardless of what his capabilities are of communicating his feelings. The next thing you should be wary of is ghosting actually has very little to do with you and a lot more to do with who that person is. So what I mean by that, it kind of ties up to point number one. The fact that this person didn't see my worth, didn't see my intelligence, didn't see my capabilities to be a great girlfriend does not mean that those things don't exist. So a lot of times when we're broken up with, when we're rejected, or when we're ghosted, we automatically go to like, am I not worthy of love? Am I too much? Am I too little? Like, what is wrong with me that this person felt like they needed to walk away from me? And something you have to realize is humans are complex beings. So this person who you are allowing to hold all of your value shouldn't hold all of your value. Even in my current relationship, I am Stacy motherfreaking D, whether my boyfriend sees that or not. At the end of the day, if my boyfriend was to break up with me, yes, it's gonna hurt, but it doesn't change who I am, and it doesn't change the sense of worthiness that I have, because at the end of the day, I at least know I'm worthy of love, respect, and communication. When you give somebody you're dating the full potential to just break you by leaving you, you are giving them so much power. And that is the sort of power that I just never give anybody, because no matter who I'm dating, I am still me when they're here, and I will still be me when they're no longer here. The earlier you learn that in your emotional path, the less heartbreak that you're gonna go through, because then you realize, oh, this person no longer wants to see me. It's okay. Another person will eventually want to see me. If I was who I am now back then, I would have been like, oh my god, like he's just emotionally stunted and it like truly has nothing to do with me. As people, we tend to make things personal. Now I understand that person's inability to communicate had nothing to do with me and a lot more with his emotional intelligence. Point number 3, we're going to talk about emotional intelligence. As you guys know, I often talk about things like that, and you guys may be like, well, what is actually emotional intelligence? It's not a thing that you get graded on. It's not like you can go to class and take like an emotional intelligence class, but it's something that I've learned how to evolve through therapy. It's kind of like a language, if you will. So I speak English, I speak Spanish. If any of you were to speak to me in English or Spanish, I would probably be able to have a really great conversation because I know the languages really well. Emotions are kind of the same way. They're not taught like a language, but the more you realize that you have to dive deep and live in your emotions every single day in order to become intelligent at them. If you're constantly trying to bury yourself or to negate your emotions or to distract from your emotions because you don't want to feel pain, you don't want to feel discomfort, you don't want to feel negative emotions, you are not gonna get emotionally mature. An emotionally mature person looks like somebody who understands, compromises, and hears people out. Somebody who knows that no matter what happens in life, what other people do has nothing to do with this person, because a lot of times people are functioning from a place of selfishness. We see the world only as our own, and we think that we are the only living things. So when somebody talks negatively about you, when somebody ghosts you, or when somebody breaks up with you, we automatically think it's my fault, my world's falling apart. When in reality, people are allowed to not like you, people are allowed to talk negatively about you, people are allowed to leave you, and people are allowed to not want to be with you. And the earlier you realize that, again, like I said earlier, the more emotionally mature you will become. When you stop trying to hold on to people a huevo, and when you stop trying to keep them here by force, you'll realize that relationships are fluid and relationships will come and go. And if somebody's emotional intelligence doesn't allow them to communicate that they no longer want to be with you, that has nothing to do with you and a lot to do with the other person. If you've been ghosted, I truly do apologize that whoever you dated didn't have the emotional intelligence or capacity to tell you that they no longer wanted to see you. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that your self-love should be any smaller. It doesn't mean that every person that you date is gonna do such a thing. I do think it's important that when you get ghosted, you realize that you can learn and you can grow from it. It's not a pleasant feeling, but it is a feeling that is uncomfortable, and thankfully we are able to thrive in discomfort. Realizing that you were only yourself while you were in this relationship is important, because at the end of the day, you can only be you. Who I am now is way different than who I was when this happened. And to look back and be like, I should have known better, I should have dumped them first, I should have done X, Y, and Z. The matter of fact is I didn't, because I didn't have the knowledge that I do now at 29 years old, back when I was 25 or 26 years old. And part of being human is giving yourself that grace period to make mistakes, to have your heart broken, to heal, and to learn from it. I wouldn't know all that I know, and I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about these things if I hadn't been through all of the horrible and heartbreaking things that I've been through. But thankfully, because I embraced my heartbreak and because I let myself be broken open and I was able to heal, I'm able to have these experiences and share them onto you guys. So hopefully, if you've been ghosted and you literally just clicked on this video because you've been ghosted, now you know that you're not the only one and that these things happen, and who you are doesn't change just because someone isn't capable of seeing your worth. To end this video, I will leave you guys with this. Personally, I have never ghosted anybody. I don't think you should go through life ghosting people. The only exception is if the person is dangerous to you or if you don't feel comfortable around them. But if you have a person who is genuinely kind, who is genuinely good, and who is genuinely wanting to be in a relationship with you, and you just don't feel that connection, I please ask of you to have the emotional maturity level that is sufficient to let them know that you no longer want to see them. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to have weird pauses in conversations, but at the end of the day, they are human and they deserve the respect that it takes to say, you know what, I just don't see us going the same way, and I appreciate all that you are, but you're just not what I'm looking for. A true mature person and a person who actually respects themselves and loves themselves enough will say, I really appreciate you saying this. Of course, it's not gonna be as easy as I'm saying it, and there's probably gonna be tears, and there's probably gonna be awkward silences, and you're probably gonna feel weird after, but at least you're always gonna walk away knowing that you did the highest good for everyone involved. Breaking up with people is never easy, ending things is never simple, but at the end of the day, when you clearly end a relationship, you are letting the universe, you are letting God know that you don't want this and you are actually ready to receive what it is that you do want. If you go through life leaving all these open ends and just letting people feel weird and confused about why they weren't good enough to have at least an ending, that cannot be good for you and your karma and your life. Everything is energy, you guys. The way that you treat other people, you will be treated. Being a kind and emotionally intelligent person is not an easy thing, because a lot of times you see things and you're like, I wish I could just leave you and never see you again, but I know that that will hurt you and that will make you question your worth, so I won't do that to you. If you have been ghosted, remember, it has very little to do with you and it has more to do with the person's inability to communicate. You are good enough and you are worthy of a loving, healthy, trusting, and communicative relationship, and you will get that as long as you continue to not settle. Las quiero mucho, mucho, mucho. Las amo tanto, tanto, tanto. Thank you so much, you guys, for subscribing to this channel, for continuing to support, for liking this video, and for showing all the support that you do. I would love to read about you in the comments. Let me know if you've been ghosted. Let me know if you ever ghosted somebody. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. And now you watch this video and you will move on through life differently. And let me know what other videos you guys would like to see. I'm probably going to be having one video a week on this channel. So let me know what else I should write about and we should communicate about, because I love to learn, do research, and communicate what I know to you guys so we can become better, loving, confident, and adequate women. I love that for us, bitch. I really do. So, me llamo Stacy Apodaca. Quiérete mucho, respétate más. Que Dios te bendiga. And I'll see you guys at the next video. Bye.